What is up? What is up? What is up? Happy Sunday to everyone. Happy Sunday. As you can see, we are here to rank some DCEU films. And from 2013 all the way to 2023, we have 13 of them things. And we're going to rank them today. Ooh, it's going to be a fun one, y'all. But before we get into it, I want to thank everyone for watching live. We are live. This isn't pre-recorded. This is a live stream that we will be having today, and I'm so excited to be with you all. You know, the last 9 weeks, we've been going live for The Last of Us watch parties and the after shows we've been having. So I had to fill in that void, man. I had to come back live with you all to talk about my favorite IP, and that is the DC Cinematic Universe, or during that time, the DC Extended Universe. And very excited to talk to you all about these films that I have ranked for you. When we're doing a tier list, we'll be kind of briefly talking about the film, and then as we kind of get into more conversation, we'll talk about the future of the DC universe, the future of the remaining DC films, DCEU films on the slate for this year, and just kind of take it wherever it goes based on the conversation. But again, if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Elliot from MovieFiles. You know, we cover a lot of new movies, whether that's big blockbuster films like DC, Marvel, Star Wars. We cover horror films, you know, Scream 6. You know, we got Evil Dead Rise next month. Big sci-fi fan. I love independent films, A24, Neon, you name it, Focus Features. Big TV watcher. You know, we just covered Swarm over the weekend. Have more coverage for that. You know, Atlanta, The Last of Us, House of the Dragon. So we cover a lot of content here, and we have a lot of fun doing so. So if you haven't already, if you're new, consider subscribing. And for all the OGs that's tuning in, again, appreciate you all joining me on this Sunday to do your boy a favor. Hit that thumbs up. Spread the algorithm out. Let a lot of DC fans get into the conversation today, as well as sharing this video. And more importantly, since we're live, man, I want to read those comments. This is going to be me solo today, so I'm going to try to get to as many comments as possible. Again, especially when we get to the ranking part of the video. So thank you again for joining us, and it's going to be a fun time today. We got a couple people in the chat. Let me see who we got. Mayanne, how we doing? Elliot's so sad we don't have The Last of Us anymore, but glad we got content from. Hey, you got to keep that train rolling, right? We've been, you know, it's a great show that we had the last 9 weeks, but we'll have another one to talk about hopefully in the coming weeks, especially with the the Succession season finale, series finale, Barry after that, and a lot of great stuff to look forward to. But and also too, man, I know you're a big Servant fan. We just wrapped that up on Friday, so it's been a lot of wrapping up shows, but some new shows and new movies to look forward to. So a lot of good content coming you guys' way. But shout out to Mayanne showing some support, and hope you are doing well. My man B Avery, what's up, B? Sorry I couldn't make your stream last night. I don't know if you saw my DM, man. I've been sick for the last few days, so I was knocked out yesterday, B. But shout out to Brandon. He talk about content and covering a lot of stuff, movie shows, all your new shows he's covering on his channel. He had a great live discussion last night for Swarm live stream, which you all can check out. I know today he'll be live with his movie and TV roundup show that he does every week. So that'll be, I believe, at 6 p.m. Central Time. So definitely check out Brandon. And as he says in the comments, y'all, give your boy a thumbs up. Shout out to B Avery, man. Hope you're doing well, man. And listen, bro, my schedule might be free tonight. So who knows? Someone might be, hey, I don't know. Well, I can't make any promises, but I might be able to swing by my man B Avery's channel tonight. So yeah, man. But listen, y'all, again, I'm a big DC fan, and I did this before last year when we wrapped up Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I did a tier list for all the Phase 4 films, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I've also did a couple of tier lists for like the movies I saw for the month and whatnot, but this is the one I'm excited for because, as I mentioned, big DC fan, and I don't know if you guys can see it behind me. I got the a couple films behind me. I have a lot more. It's just that's as many as that little shelf can handle at the time being. But big fan of the DC characters, of the world, the mythology since I was a kid, watching the animated shows, reading some comics, and then get into the live action. All of it all has just been it's been a roller coaster, to say the least. But within that roller coaster, there's some highs and then some lows, and we're gonna talk about those highs and lows today. And I'm very excited to do so. We got another comment here. Let's see. Hey, Elliot, haven't watched Last of Us yet, but hopefully we get to it soon. Glad you're back doing lives. I saw the MCU one. So, thank you. Yeah, this is fun. Yeah, and definitely, if you get a chance, check out The Last of Us. It's a really great show. And when you're done watching the show, you can watch the coverage that we have for all 9 episodes. But shout out to you. Appreciate you. And definitely excited to get into today's live. And then what Brandon say? LOL, you good? Oh, appreciate it, B. Appreciate it, man. Like I said, I would have loved to join you last night, but your boy I'm still kind of under the weather now, but we're gonna push through with all the DC power that's inside of me, right? The power of the DC universe. But again, guys, the way we're gonna handle this, we're gonna get things started here in a little bit. And I'm gonna probably clip this out. So if you see me do like an intro and outro, don't worry, it's part of another video that I'm gonna probably make this into. But basically, again, with our tier list, we're gonna have and let me actually pull it up now while I go over everything. But we're just gonna run through the films, man. 13 movies, which is just crazy to kind of consider that it's been 13 films, which in any other franchise, that's in a 10-year window. You look at Bond, it takes like 5 years to make one Bond film. Mission Impossible takes 3 or 4 years to make those films. Fast and Furious, like 3 to 4 years between each film. So to have 13 films as a franchise is pretty successful. But then when you compare it against those across the lake, which I'm referring to Marvel, 13 films in 10 years. Hell, Marvel has 13 films in like 2 years, right? So obviously that's a much more well-oiled machine, to say the least. But hey, Peter Safran, James Gunn, they might have something to say about that in the future. And we'll talk about that later as far as, again, the future of not only the DCEU universe, but the future of the DC universe, which is, it's here, man. It's not here yet, but, there's been things in place. There's been moves being made. There's been players cut from the roster and so on and so forth. But very excited to see what the future holds. But as I get this tier list pulled up here, give me a second. Like I said, if you guys are just tuning in, again, I appreciate you joining me on this Sunday afternoon, March 19th. And we're going to be having a good time talking about DC. And listen, I'm going to have some flaming hot takes for y'all, man. I'm a big DC fan, and I'm not blinded by some of the mediocre films, but I do have my opinions on some of them that might differ from you all. So I'm very excited to have that conversation as far as why I have certain films where they are, why did I rank them the way I do, why do I love them the way I do, so on and so forth. And I'm kind of stalling because I'm trying to get I thought I did this with the tier list website. I'm trying to put the movies in order so we can go from 2013 to 2023. So just give me a minute while I stall here. But in the meanwhile, while I get this movie list in order, do me a favor, y'all. Let me know, how was your weekend? Number one, did any of you all see Shazam, which we'll be talking about, and you'll see where it lands on my list? Did any of you all see that film of the weekend? If you did, let me know, man. Pros, cons, what you love, what you hate about it, all that good stuff. And then also let me know if you saw Swarm or if there was any other. I know I missed Shadow and Bone this weekend. I'm going to probably watch it over this coming week, but I know that premiered on Netflix. And was there anything else big? Any other big IPs? If so, let me know in the comments, guys. But I think we are all set. I got my order of the films all in order here. And then let me share my screen with you all, and we're going to get this party started, y'all. So there it is. All 13 of them things here. Let me just make it a little bit. Let me see how it looks on the StreamYard. It looks fine. Let me just probably move this here, little banner, and we'll get things started. And again, this is a live interactive video. So again, any films you all have, any opinions you all have on the films, definitely let me know in the live chat. And again, I'm going to piece this out, so I probably won't respond to every comment immediately. I'm going to probably go through my list and then read some of you guys' comments as we go along. And then I'm just going to kind of wrap this up, because I'm going to try to make this particular portion of the video, like under 20 minutes, maybe 25 once I edit it. So that's just how that's gonna go. Just give you guys a heads up if you're wondering, like, does he not see my comments? Again, I'm just gonna be running through these films and giving like less than like 3 to 5 minute, like kind of quick reviews of the films. And then again, after maybe 4 or 5 films, I'll read the comments and go back to the list. And then we'll have like a 30, 45 minute to an hour, however long you guys want to talk about my list, your feelings on the DC films, your feelings of DC as whole, and also the future of the projects that they have announced for Chapter 1 of Gods and Monsters. So yeah, man. So with that being said here, before I get into it, I see a couple more comments coming through, some more people stopping by. Let's see, man said weekend was good so far. Trying to watch. Yeah, definitely give it a shot or give it a watch, man, because tomorrow I will be having a live discussion. I wanted to do it over the weekend, but I had to work out some scheduling. Again, I was under the weather, but tomorrow we'll be going live again to talk about that show, all spoilers. So hopefully you can join us tomorrow at it's gonna be 7 p.m. that we're gonna be doing a live discussion about that. So Shazam, we liked it. It was better than hey, we're gonna talk about it, but shout out to you. Glad you're here. Appreciate you. Shazam was fun. Liked it. Oh, okay. If you like the first one, yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment there. I love Sworn. Man, it's gonna be so fun. Can't wait to talk to y'all about that show. I have content on the channel now, but to have like a live discussion with the panel and interacting with you all is gonna be so much fun. Just finished watching Glory, a K-drama. Okay, cool. Oh yes, that's on Netflix, right? Yeah, I heard about that show. I need to give it a watch. So awesome. Someone feel like Atlanta touch it. Yeah, 100%, Corey. Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, Ted Lasso, I forgot that premiere. Shout out to Justin. What's up, Jay? Cool, man. Yeah, Ted Lasso is a really good show. All right, y'all. So let's get into the main event, which, again, I'm going to do a quick intro because I'm going to piece this out for a separate video. So let me actually remove this and then bring it back up here in a second. So with that being said, let me get my little intro going and let's get this thing popping, y'all. So hey, what's going on, everyone? Elliot here from MovieFiles, and today is a very fun and special video. As a DC fan, we just had the release of Shazam: Fury of the Gods that came out over the weekend. You know, the box office isn't all that hot, but hey, I'm here to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything about the DCEU, and more particularly, as you all can see from the banner, we're going to be ranking all 13 DCEU projects from 2013's Man of Steel to the most recent Shazam: Fury of the Gods. So that is 13 films with that 10-year window, and just sticking to the films. You know, I won't be talking about the Peacemakers of the world, the Doom Patrols of the world. I won't be talking about the Elseworld films such as the Joker, and as well as the most recent, the Batman. So we're just focusing on the DC Extended Universe, which is led by, as you all can see behind me, the trinity of, you know, Henry Cavill's Superman, Ben Affleck's Batman, and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. So within that continuity, within that universe is what we're covering today. So before we get into my tier list, do your boy a favor. If you enjoyed today's commentary, enjoyed today's ranking tier list, hit that thumbs up, share this video, and more importantly, leave your rankings in the comments below. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get things going and rank some of these good films, great films, not so great films, and some not so good movies in general. Some pretty bad stuff here, but we're going to get into it. But I wanted to start off with what started it all, right? So that's 2013's Man of Steel, directed by the one and only Zack Snyder. Man, where do we begin? So first and foremost, I think the best way to begin is just where do I rank this film, just to get this, let's knock this out of the way, man. That's right. That's right. Can y'all see that? Yes, that's an S tier. That is the top of the food chain, in my opinion. Listen, I can go on and on and on about this film, but just starting from a technical perspective, and this is I'm going to have a lot of hot takes for you all today, but from a technical perspective, I think this is one of the best made superhero movies of all time. That's right. The way Zack Snyder created this world, the way that they were able to piece this film together from a technical standpoint, from a visual standpoint, some of the best action you'll probably see in a superhero movie with Zod versus Kal-El and Smallville and Metropolis, some of the best soundtracks and scores you're here for a superhero film, like Man of Steel's Hans Zimmer, who's the GOAT in my opinion, no disrespect to John Williams and a lot of the other great composers throughout the, you know, hundreds and millions of films we've gotten throughout the years of cinema, but Hans Zimmer is the GOAT to me, and Man of Steel score is just so inspirational. It's so motivating. It's also so epic in so many different ways. So from a technical standpoint, this film is beautiful to look at. And listen, again, I'm a DC fan, but I can acknowledge the shortcomings. I know that Superman is a very pivotal character. He's one of the most recognizable heroes of all time across all the world. And I know a lot of the issues for some people is that's not my Superman, which I understand that. And factually speaking, it isn't your Superman, right? It's Zack Snyder's version of this character. And growing up as a kid, I'm a big Batman fan, but I respected Superman, but I was never a big Superman fan. So when it came to switching up somewhat of the mythology and the lore and the personality of Kal-El and Clark Kent, I enjoyed that interpretation from and again, I know this isn't for everyone, but the groundedness and the reality of a Kryptonian alien coming to Earth it wouldn't be all saving cats in the trees and the Boy Scout ways. It would be a lot of pushback from society and from humanity. And I love how Zack Snyder put a lens to that side of the story. And just seeing, again, going back to just things I love about this film, I think about one of the best openings of a superhero film, of films in general, is that Kryptonian fight when we're on Krypton and we're seeing the end of the world and we're seeing Zod trying to stop all this. I mean, it's just such a beautiful opening to the film. It sets the tone, it sets the, the themes of the film of just trying to fight for what you believe in, and fight for continuing on your legacy. I love that. And then just piecing out how Zack Snyder lets us know the Clark Kent in society and having the flashbacks of how he was raised by Jonathan Kent, which I know, again, another hot take. The tornado scene, how he raised him to, not be the hero that we've known of Superman or Clark Kent to be, but I kind of like what they were doing there. And, just love a lot of the story building. And again, from an action standpoint, man, when you get Zod, who I'm going to put it out there right now, the best DC villain of all time, at least in the DCEU. I love what Michael Shannon brought to him. I will find him, Laura. I love him so much, and I can't wait to see him in the Flash. But again, from a villain standpoint, a narrative standpoint, I just really love this movie on so many different levels. And again, I can acknowledge the decision of Superman killing Zod at the end, but I ask you, what would you have done if you were Superman in that moment? And not Superman of 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of veteran in the outfit there. But Clark Kent was over Superman for like less than a couple days, right? So, and Zod told him, if you do not kill me, Kal-El, I will destroy every single human on Earth. So the decision had to be made. But anyway, we can have a discussion about this film for hours, but it is an S tier to me. It is one of the best made superhero films, like I mentioned, of all time. The score, the technical achievements. There are some shortcomings. There are some decisions that are questionable for sure. But I just really love what Zack Snyder did to try to launch the DCEU. So for that, Man of Steel coming in at my S tier. And again, when we get to the ranking part, you all will find out where that film lands on that list. So next on the agenda was 2016. We move a couple years later, 3 years to be exact. And, that is BVS. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Now, let me take y'all in a time machine for a second here. If y'all, and this has nothing to do with the actual making of the film or as far as like the final product, but y'all remember that trailer of BVS, in particularly Comic-Con? Was it 2014 Comic-Con or 2015 Comic-Con? Oh my gosh. That trailer and the whole setup of Zack Snyder with the Batman overshadowing the Superman logo was just some of the best marketing, and leading up to the film was some of the best marketing, minus the last trailer, which we won't talk about, when they revealed Wonder Woman, who was one of the best aspects of that movie. But the marketing, the hype, I can honestly say Infinity War and Endgame's up there. But as far as me, again, being a DC fan, I don't know if I've ever been more excited for a movie, because again, Batman versus Superman. And y'all, for my film fans out there, y'all remember, what was it? Will Smith's I Am Legend had like a poster in there, and it was always speculated about that Hollywood wanted to make the film, but they never had the proper Batman in the mix, Christopher Nolan was doing his thing with Batman, and obviously we had the huge gaps between seeing different Superman, so it never came to fruition until Zack Snyder made it happen. And I'm going to be referring to the Snyder cut of the this film, because if I'm being honest with you, the theatrical cut is not a well put together film, and we know why, because things were taken out of context. There were scenes that were kind of removed from the film, so I will be referring to I should have probably put it in the little title there, but this is referring to the Zack Snyder's version of BVS, which I think is just his version of kind of Man of Steel meets Batman versus Superman meets The Watchmen, right? Because there is a groundedness to the societal conversation at hand. Again, the continuation from Man of Steel. What would a world be like if Superman was in it? And what if he can't save everyone? What if he makes mistakes? What if he's blamed for killing people overseas and things of that nature? So I love how Zack, again, put the groundedness in kind of again, not reality, because we don't have superheroes in our real world, but just if in an else world, what if scenario. I love how those pieces of the puzzle were put together. And again, it's a lot of political figures that would have something to say about Superman being a god, or, as they say in the film, he doesn't fear God. So themes of that was really prominent and really well woven into the film. I saw what Zack Snyder was trying to do with certain characters, a la Lex Luthor and the whole kind of Mark Zuckerberg kind of interpretation of the character, bigger than life, Elon Musk type of character. Jesse Eisenberg's a great actor, but there's moments in the performance. But overall, I will admit that is the weakest element of the film for me, is the portrayal of Lex Luthor. But the idea, the sentiment of him being behind everything, it's pieces there, but execution isn't all that great. But man, where do we begin with just seeing who I consider to be the best Batman, at least in the suit? Because I don't think Ben Affleck got a full chance to really portray his like Bruce Wayne of it all. Like, I think he did a good job, but not as much as he did as a good job to me as Batman, the most intimidating, the most fearful, scary looking, bulked up Frank Miller style Batman that we've ever seen on the live action screen. And listen, I love me some Michael Keaton. He would get waxed by Ben Affleck's Batman, and same could be said from a very underrated Batman and Val Kilmer, but he wouldn't last a second. George Clooney would just run the other way if he saw him in the alley. And the only Batman as far as live action on the big screen that would probably stand a chance, or not even stand a chance, but at least have a couple rounds, some punches thrown in there, is probably Christian Bale's Batman. But even then, I mean, my man got his ass handed to him with just less than a few blows by Bane and getting his back broken. And I'm telling y'all right now, and I'm a big fan of Dark Knight Rises, but Ben Affleck's Batman would wax the Bane in the Christopher Nolan verse. But anyway, I'm just a big fan of the Batman that Ben Affleck portrayed, and I also like the continuation of Kal-El's story, again, kind of trying to find a balance between being the superhero that the world needs and being there, and trying to implement himself into everyday society. So I really enjoyed that narrative. But then Wonder Woman getting into the mix was so fantastic. The fight sequences, especially our first standoff between Batman and Superman, iconic line, right? When he says, "Tell me, do you play?" Like, I just love Ben Affleck's Batman, and Jeremy Irons as, Alfred, and just there's so many just great things I love about the film. Again, Lex Luthor wasn't a big fan of. The film takes a bit to find its momentum, especially in that first half. But once it hits the ground running, I think it's just a really well put together film. So with that being said, the Zack Snyder's version of BVS to me is it's A- to B tier. So I'm gonna go ahead today. I'm feeling like giving it an A. So yes, again, it's a hot takes today, a lot of hot takes. But that is where I will place BVS. And again, for everyone watching live, everyone watching the video up to this point, just a friendly reminder to like, share, comment, and subscribe. So moving on to, and again, for everyone watching live, I will get you guys' comments here. I'm not ignoring you. I will be getting to the comments. I'm very excited to see where you guys place some of these films. But before we get to those comments, let's get to Suicide Squad, y'all. The Suicide Squad, man. What went wrong? Well, as you all know, or maybe not know, that don't have their ears to the ground with these films, and it's a lot of behind the scenes. But there was a lot of behind the scenes issues with this movie, with David Ayer making his film, making his version of the movie, and going back to, like I mentioned, BBS, as far as like the promotion, that Suicide Squad trailer is still to date like top 10 trailers of all time in my eyes. I'm talking about the very first one, and YouTube it right now. Go back and watch that trailer. It's perfect. It's unfortunately not a good representation of what the film is, or at least what David Ayer wanted it to be, because unfortunately it was very much affected by studio interference. And, if you guys don't know, the word on the street is that not a professional editor, a film editor, edited the film, but a trailer company edited the final cut of Suicide Squad. So that's why, I don't revisit this film a lot because I'm not a fan of it, as you'll see where I'm going to put it here in a second. But it is so choppy. It's not a well put together movie, which is unfortunate, because the story was a little bit thin. Even if we were to get the David Ayer's cut, I don't think the story was going to blow our minds away. It's a pretty simple premise when you look at the Suicide Squad as a group, as a whole. But the story, I could put that aside. It's just when you have a bad paced and just weirdly edited film, it stands out like a sore thumb. So it's unfortunately not a well put together film. And even with that, I can still look back on some of the positives. Like I mentioned, fire trailer. But as far as narratively and filmmaking wise and acting and characters, I think the two things that came out of this, not necessarily untouched, but two things that came out on the positives, probably Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. I thought she was, pretty fun, pretty energetic, brought the foundation and the sensibilities of that character from the comics. And Will Smith's Deadshot, I think he really gave us a really good Deadshot portrayal. So I think those two came out unscathed from that film, but everyone else, including method actor, Academy Award-winning actor, may I add, Jared Leto as the Joker. What the hell was that? That's all I gotta say there. But, and again, for those that know about the David Ayer cut, apparently, if the cut were to ever see the day of light, the only character to me that seems that would have benefited from his cut would have been Jared Leto's Joker. That's the only character I can see that probably would have benefited from getting his version of it, because apparently there's a lot more meat to that bone, because Jesus, the version of that Joker is just ridiculous, straight ridiculous. But anyway, with that being said, man, I don't want to spend too much time on a film that I'm not a fan of, and that is that's D tier for me, ladies and gentlemen. Suicide Squad, D tier, unfortunately. And listen, man, I feel so bad for David Ayer, because he really had a good career going for him before coming into DC. And I remember the whole, like, even him on stage at Comic-Con, like, oh, DC got the better heroes and the better villains. He was just bringing so much energy, and I love what he brought to, you know, being a writer of the Training Day, and a couple years even before Suicide Squad, he had Fury, which was a fantastic war film with some great directing and great acting. But ever since 2016 Suicide Squad, David Ayer has not been the same director. Like, what was it? He came out with Bright, which was horrendous, with Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. That movie was just just trash. Then you had The Tax Collector, I believe was the name of the film. It was him and Shia LaBeouf. That, oh my goodness, that movie is like, where's David Ayer? Did he just, like, was this a fluke? Was this not the same? Who's the guy that made Training Day? Who's the guy that made Fury? He's MIA. So he hasn't been, unfortunately, his career has been really hindered and really put on the back burner, and just kind of, I don't even know if he has anything in the works coming soon, but I hope he does, because I think he is a good director. But man, the Suicide Squad really messed up his career. But anyway, let's move on to something that I think, again, as I said up top, it's like you start off with Man of Steel, BVS, hidden in my eye, some really good, interesting films with some really fantastic, bigger than life characters, and then you come all the way down from that mountain to what we got with Suicide Squad, but then leave it to the princess, the Amazonian warrior, to save the DC universe. That's right, I said it. Wonder Woman 2017's Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, Chris Pine's Wonder Woman is a film that I think proved a lot of haters wrong. If you all date back to I believe she was announced, because obviously she was in BVS, she was announced to be Wonder Woman, I think 3 years prior to her individual solo film, and all the speculation, all the tabloids, she's too skinny, she's a terrible actress, have you not seen her? And to be fair, listen, and I'm not going to refer to the body stuff, because it's like, come on, people, you act like you can't go to a gym and lift weights and feel comfortable in your own skin, so I won't even address that. But I will address, as far as the acting goes, she didn't have enough of a filmography to really judge her acting, in my opinion, based on, again, she was at that point, she was in the fourth, I think she was introduced in the fourth, the Fast and Furious, and she was in Fast 5, and then she died in Fast 6. Spoiler alert, but we'll see what happens with Fast X. Giselle will come back, but either way, I don't think she had enough of a resume to really justify if she's a good or bad actress. She was just, she's just acting, But man, when I think of Wonder Woman, this isn't no disrespect to the incredible Linda Carter and what she brought to that portrayal, and just iconic in every way possible. But when I think of Wonder Woman, I think of Gal Gadot. Like, personally, I think of Gal Gadot. I think she embodies so much of what I love about Wonder Woman. Number one, badass Amazonian warrior. I think she captures that perfectly. And not to get too far into the weeds as far as conversation goes, but I think Zack Snyder really pulled that out of her. And not that Patty Jenkins didn't, but I think what Patty Jenkins did perfectly, in my opinion. She, and it speaks to this film in general, she portrayed, which is maybe Diana's most powerful attribute, and that's her compassion to humanity, right? So I think that side of Diana was beautifully depicted by not only the direction and the writing and the performances, but also I thought that the fish out of water element of seeing her in the world during that time. And I'll say it, man, when it comes to chemistry, not only does Chris Pine as Steve Trevor and Diana have the best chemistry in the DCEU and the DCU in general, but I think they have one of the best romances of any comic book movie, and that goes for even Marvel projects. I mean, I think the chemistry between those two was beautiful. I love their journey. I think the pacing is really well done. Iconic moments. No Man Land is just such a beautiful scene in every way, and just seeing her just being again when Patty did allow her to be a warrior, she really portrayed those elements in that scene. My biggest issue with the film, and this isn't a a groundbreaking comment here or commentary, but I do think the weakest part of the film is the third act. The first act is a great storytelling and just introducing us to the world, introducing this character, and also correcting something that I do think Zack Snyder kind of messed up on in BVS, which is having Diana, who again her superpower is not only being a warrior but also being very compassionate. The idea that she left humanity, that never sat well with me. So knowing that Patty Jenkins retroactively kind of corrected that error there was great to see. Transitioning to the second half, which again, no man's land, and understanding what was going on with the villains in the film. But then once we get to that third act, it really kind of dropped the ball. There's moments in the third act, her going God mode on the soldiers, taking out Ares and all that stuff. But it's just like, and then also Steve Trevor's death in the moment was very beautiful. But that third act really isn't. It's almost like a different movie than the first half and the second half of this film. So, with that being said, Elliot, where are you putting this movie? Wonder Woman 2017, ladies and gentlemen. It's an A for me, man. It's a beautiful film. I'll never forget seeing this in theaters. I saw it a couple times in theaters, and of course, if you all can see behind me, I own the film right behind me there. It is unfortunate what happens a little bit later in another film we'll talk about, Wonder Woman, and also maybe not seeing Patty Jenkins and Gal having the finish their trilogy. But that 2017 film was just so beautiful, and it was groundbreaking too, right? The first kind of female-led film. It beat Marvel to the punch for the first time in something, and it did bonkers at the box office. So Wonder Woman 2017, man, is one of my favorite DCEU films, and definitely one of my favorite films within the comic book genre. So with that being said, man, we got 4 films on the list, and we got S tier with Man of Steel, we got A tier, BVS and Wonder Woman, and we got D tier all the way down the D's is a Suicide Squad. So before I move on, I'm going to put a pause on the editing portion of my video and check in with you guys. Let me see what you guys are talking about that are watching live. And again, shout out to everyone that's joined in. And, again, just a reminder, thumbs up, share, and leave your thoughts. So let me get some of these comments and we'll get back on track. As the years, I appreciate Minister more still. For sure. No, I understand that, Justin. I understand it. It definitely has some character moments I know a lot of people just aren't on board with, but I'm glad that it has grown appreciation as the years went by. Man of Steel parted into a trilogy of his own, especially. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Adam, is the vision was there, but unfortunately got cut short at the knees. So definitely would love to have seen what Zack Snyder would have did with Kal-El. Yeah, we'll talk about the Flash a little bit later when we talk about the future of the DCEU. Superman was a baby Superman. I respect the ending. Definitely wasn't. He wasn't Superman by the end of Man of Steel. He wasn't Superman yet, right? It was an arc, it was more to come. But I really love Man of Steel. I really enjoy how they challenged the idea, thank you, of Superman, Clark, his relationship with humanity, etc. I couldn't have said it perfectly. I couldn't have said it better. 100% agree with you. As a younger man facing tough choice, I can see them making a decision how move forward. Oh, you're talking about, yeah, exactly, Justin. As far as him killing Zod, that would have affected him. That would have changed his whole trajectory of what does it mean to be a Superman? What does it mean to save lives and not take lives? How could I have done it differently? Yeah, there's a lot more in that story for sure. BVS, yeah, it's the best one, 100%. Long cut of BVS is the definitive version. I went to the premiere of BVS with him. What? That is awesome. Shout out to Mayan. I knew we were friends for a reason, because you just got great taste in friends, and that is a wonderful friend to be to call a friend. That is awesome, Mayan. That is so cool. Wonder Woman was the best intro of music. Yeah, listen, and that's another thing I'll say too. Thinking this isn't a DC versus Marvel conversation, but when I think about filmmaking, I think about not only how's it look, how's it feel, how does it sound, and not from a sound design, but I'm talking about the score, the soundtrack. Is it memorable, right? The only thing that's memorable for me from the MCU, the Avengers, Black Panther, the Loki theme, and there's hints of Captain America throughout the films, but like, that's about it for me. Of course, for you all, you might have different opinions on that. But when you think about the DC universe, Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, beat Batman. I mean, they have some of the best scores in the comic book genre. So yes, and to your point, Wonder Woman scores is amazing. Seeing Snyder cut really showed me his. Yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later, Justin. Yeah, Snyder, he has a plan, man. Just it might be a long plan, right? It might take him a while to get to the point, but he gets there, right? When you give him a chance. Yeah, Zack. Yeah, Zack's Lex Luthor feeding up grown man a cherry. Like, what the hell is what's going on? Margot and Will went off. Yeah, they had, like I said, they were the only ones to me that kind of, made it out untouched as far as performances go. I may beat it now, but Suicide Squad, I didn't. Hey, no, nothing wrong with that. It's probably a high C. There are parts that I liked, and yeah, the chunks. Hey, no issues with that. No issues with that at all. The worst thing that happened in DC. Woo, super villains, right, Patrick? They are the super villains of the DC universe, unfortunately. Yeah, it's like, man, that trailer. I'm telling y'all, man, when we're done with today's stream, watch the Suicide Squad Comic-Con trailer from 2016 or 2015 and watch the BVS trailers. Those are some of the best trailers you'll ever see, on top of, of course, there's so many other ones within the genre, but those two are some of my favorite trailers of all time, man. Love those trailers. Oh, Brandon, bro, I respect you, bro. But are we talking about the same bright Brandon with the elves and the. Yeah, B. All right. I shout out to B, man. Love him, man. I did not like that film. Was it Training Day with elves? Oh my goodness, facts. Yeah, his career has never been the same since. Like that mentally, I think, messed him up as a director. The Bright World needs to be extended. It supposedly it was supposed to, because regardless of how I feel about the film, it did really well on Netflix. But I think what's his name? Max Landis, the son of his dad is a fantastic writer, American Werewolf in London. Max Landis has some like sexual, like behind the scenes sexual assault issues, and his career kind of fell off. And I think because he was like the writer with David Ayer, and then plus, like I said, with David Ayer's career, and unfortunately didn't come to fruition. Wonder Woman was top tier. Yeah, I love Wonder Woman. Yeah, I love it. Wonder Woman for me was the first time I thought the DCEU. That's what I'm saying. To me, Wonder Woman saved them from the pits of hell of the Suicide Squad. Yeah, definitely top tier. The best thing to come out of the original Suicide Squad was. Oh, I forgot about. How can I forget about Viola Davis? She was solid too as Amanda Waller, and also too. That post credit scene was pretty dope to me. With Amanda Waller and Bruce Wayne meeting for dinner, and he tells her to shut it down, or else he'll get his team to do so. That was pretty epic if that would have came to fruition. Viola, yeah. Dude, spoilers, I only saw. My bad. Hey, listen, William. Listen, William. I apologize, but I don't think she's dead. You'll see you'll get to it. It's not. Listen, man. If you're watching Fast and Furious to have, these moments be impactful as far as like these characters dying, because no one ever dies in these franchises, William. So I apologize if I did spoil that for you, my friend. But I have a feeling she'll be back. Yeah. The red, so strong. Snyderverse had the most potential and unique. Yeah, I agree, Craig. I agree. So, all right, y'all. So continue to leave your comments, and I'll get to them once I kind of get through a couple, 4 or 5 of these films. So back to the video. So, all right, y'all. So we just got done talking about the amazingness of Wonder Woman. So now, again, it's it's a roller coaster being a DCEU fan. Again, it's like Man of Steel, BVS. Oh, we ride on the high. Suicide Squad, tanking. What is everyone doing? Fire everyone. Wonder Woman saves the day. But then back to the pits of hell. And that is, for so many reasons, one of the most botched potential films ever. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is 2017's Justice League, however you want to call it. Oh, man, I don't even want to get into the weeds of it all. But, I mean, you talk about, again, Suicide Squad having studio interference. But this film, for so many reasons. Number one, there was a human element to it that is very tragic, very upsetting, very sad, with the Snyder's family, with Autumn unfortunately having passed away, and Zack Snyder having to step away from the film. And again, this is where integrity comes into a question to me, as far as the people that be during that time that was running Warner Brothers. The fact that they fired this man while he was grieving the loss of his daughter, Again, I know it's a business at the end of the day, but there's still some integrity could have been had, delaying the film, pausing the film, whatever the case may be. But then firing this man, I know they never came out and said they fired Zack Snyder, but they fired him. I mean, we can all, if you followed the story behind the scenes, they fired Zack Snyder. Then you bring in, again, this is the biggest issue. We'll talk about this at the end, but one of the biggest issues with the DC universe, DCEU, is how reactionary they were. Hey, wait a minute. Zack's gone. Who can we pick up? Wait a minute. Who's the guy that did the Avengers 2012? Who's the guy that did Age of Ultron? Joss Whedon. Let's bring him in the mix. Let's bring him in. We only got 3 more months of the film. He'll be able to write a new script and bring new funk and flavor to the film. We'll be okay. No, they were not. Oh my goodness, man. Again, talk about just like completely 180 of the characters. And again, the whole idea of the people that be, the powers that be, was let's try to make a Marvel movie. Let's try to make an MCU movie with a guy that made 2 of the most profitable films during that time for Marvel with Joss Whedon. And fire and ice, water and vinegar. It did not mix well. And again, not getting into the whole Joss Whedon of it all, as far as the separating the art from the artist. He is a good writer. He is a good director. Him as a human being is not that great, but just focusing on the project and the artist side of it all. But it's almost like if you were a head coach, for the whole season, then you had something happen, you got to step away, and then you bring in an intern. You're like, oh, just bring in the intern, just have them. No, we're going to bring in a whole new coach with a whole new philosophy on these characters. And it affected these characters on so many levels. Like, I want you all to think about this. A film that includes Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, and, alluding to the, the Nexus and the new gods with the dark side and everything that we got there. The fact that film made less than $1 billion is baffling. Absolutely baffling. The fact that, and I like this film, this isn't shade at Thor, but the fact that Thor Ragnarok, which came out like 2 weeks before this did, the fact that Thor Ragnarok made more than a Justice League film, what else do I have to say? So with that being said, I don't want to spend too much time on the negatives. If there was an F tier, that's where this film would lie, right side by side by the Suicide Squad. Justice League, Joss Whedon's Justice League is just an absolute disgrace to cinema, in every way possible. But and you know what? I will say this before I wrap this Justice League up. There are moments that are, memorable in my mind, but they're too far in between. But that film was just a mess. But again, we talk about highs and lows. And this might be another hot take, man, but we get into 2018 and we're talking about this man right here. My man, Aquaman, ladies and gentlemen. 2018 Aquaman, directed by James Wan, starring Jason Momoa, Nicole Kidman, and Amber Turd, Willem Dafoe, and a bunch of awesomeness, man. Listen, again, this might be a hot take, but when I think of fun, I think of Aquaman. I think of it's a visually stimulating film. It is so gorgeous. Shout out to James Wan, what he was able to do with the underwater sequences. And I wouldn't be surprised to one of the GOATs, James Cameron, looked at Aquaman and be like, hey, that's pretty cool. Maybe we can apply that to, the beautiful, wonderful Avatar Way of the Water. But beautifully stunning. It is a quintessential popcorn, shut that brain off before you even think about anything that's going on in the script. Shut it off. Just enjoy the colors, because it's a very beautiful looking film. Narratively speaking, it isn't like, written with crayons. There is some heart to it. There is some emotion to it. There are some themes that are pretty, strong, family and never giving up and hope and being a king in Arthur's story, taking himself out of this kind of mindset that he was in the beginning to becoming a king at the end. There are moments of the film, narratively speaking, but the thing that I take away with Aquaman, it's just so much fun, man. Again, it's just like I said, I feel like I was a kid watching a Saturday morning cartoon, watching Aquaman fighting, creatures and monsters, fighting his brother Orm, who I shout out to Patrick Wilson, who really hams it up as a villain, a really good villain too, if you ask me, not to levels of Zod, but definitely top tier as far as the DCEU quality goes. And then, again, it's very cheesy. It's very corny. Not the best story. There are some really weird movie or music video moments of Aquaman and Mera coming out of the water with Pitbull playing. It's pretty weird stuff going on. But, it's some really standout moments. Like I said, visually striking scenes. But listen, I haven't met a person yet. And if I meet them, I have to look at them differently. The trench scene in Aquaman is one of the coolest scenes of any superhero movie in the last decade. That trench scene, I beg you, even if you don't like the film, or even if you haven't seen the film, just Google Aquaman 2018 trench scene. It is just so it's James Wan, number one. It's the James Wan of it all. It's a horror film within that like 7-minute window of the storytelling. When they go in the trenches and they're going against the monsters, the visuals, them going down the pits of the trench, and it's like in the sound design. Oh man, I love that scene. Again, I'm a fan of this film. I have so much fun with it. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on my B tier, man. It's not A tier. I don't want to get too crazy. I don't want y'all to think this is like a perfect movie for those that haven't seen it. But I think when I think of the word fun, I think of Aquaman, and I have a lot of fun. I revisit this one quite a few times, every so often. And we're not talking about Aquaman 2. There's a lot of stuff going on with that one. Delays, the Amber Turd of it all. It's Ben Affleck's Batman going to be in it. It's been cuts and edits. Jason Momoa had his hand in the script, and it's going to be more about like on the ground and the humans destroying the earth, which they hinted at in the last one. And before I forget too, another standout to me, again, talk about hamming it up, cheesing it up. My man, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, as Black Manta was a lot of fun. So, listen, man, Aquaman, my man, he's a B for me, man. I have so much fun with this film. But speaking of fun, man, let's talk about this guy. Again, we're in rhythm again. We're like, God damn, what's going on with Suicide Squad? What is going on with Justice League? But okay, Aquaman making the 1.1 billion that it made. I see you, I see you, DC. Let's talk about Shazam, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about Shazam, directed by another horror director, David F. Sandberg, who did some good things with Annabelle Creation and Lights Out. Just overall, I follow him on Instagram and Twitter. Just seems like a really good guy overall. Really funny, really good. He reads the room well when it comes to comedy. But this film really surprised me, man. This is one of the biggest surprises to me in the DCEU, next to Wonder Woman, if I'm being honest with you, because again, it was just so much, negativity going around the DC universe after Suicide Squad. But I my only knowledge of the character prior to seeing Shazam was, a couple of animated shorts. There was a film, was it Shazam, Superman versus Black Adam, really good animated movie. So that was like my knowledge of the character. But going into this film, Zachary Levi, I didn't watch Chuck. I didn't really see him in many other things besides, small role and a couple other projects. I know he was in Thor: Dark World briefly, like literally briefly, and then also Ragnarok, he was in it for like 2 seconds, but I wasn't too familiar with Zachary Levi. But man, when I tell you the heart, up until this point of the DCEU, I think this film might have the most heart of any DCEU film up until this point of their slate of films, because the whole Billy Batson of it all, losing his mother, not to death, but just her being selfish and not wanting to be there for Billy. That whole scene always gets me emotionally. And then him finding family within the foster system. I love that family. I love the heart that it has. I love the themes that it portrays. And it's just a fun movie. Again, going back to Aquaman, I think of fun. I think of Shazam, man. The comedy works. I love how David F. Sandberg, like James Wan, was able to allow some of his horror sensibilities to come into this family fun film with the whole the deadly sins of the gods, or the deadly sins of the gods. Yeah. And when they have that boardroom scene, they're eating the heads off. It's like, yeah, I love that stuff there, man. And Dr. Savannah, another top tier underrated DCEU villain, man, up there with Orm and Black Manta. And again, no one's touching Zod, but Dr. Savannah was cool, man. I really enjoyed his narrative, his story, how it, went against, it was so parallel to Billy's story of losing a parent and having his dad was so hard on him. If you saw the film, you know what happens to his dad, and paralleling that to what happened with Billy. So this is a lot of good parallels. This is a really good film. My biggest issue is, some of the suit looked a little wonky, the paddedness of it all. It's like, he just hit the gym up, not body shaming, but come on, Zachary. I didn't like the suit. I didn't like, and this is something that we'll talk about later with my Shazam Fear of the Gods, and this is unfortunate, but, and again, not to sound repetitive to some people, a lot of people feel the same way, and some people don't, but the Billy Batson becoming Shazam and that disconnecting the character is just so baffling to me, that Zachary Levi plays more of a child than Billy Batson plays more of a kid, right? Billy Batson, street smart, yeah, he has quick witted, hits you with a couple lines every now and then and all that stuff, but he's not goofy, right? but for some reason, Zachary Levi plays goofy to Billy Batson's more kind of subtleness. And again, knowing that the character is big, Tom Hanks big in a superhero world, but it was just too goofy for me, man. It's like a huge disconnect between the two actors. But that is definitely something that stood out to me. But overall, like I said, when I think about fun, I think about Shazam and Aquaman, and those two films are just two of the more fun films. Like, there's some darkness, there's some, looking in the mirror of society type of themes going on in the Snyderverse. But these films to me are just like bright, fun, colorful, good time. So that's where Shazam is for me, as a B tier. So getting on to a next film, and again, fun, right? It seems like they're just trying to have fun, right? And this is a film that, I'll be honest, I don't revisit a lot, and that is this title, man. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, aka the film should have just been called Birds of Prey. Or Harley Quinn Presents Birds of Prey. Something of that nature. They didn't have to have that ridiculous long title, which I think they eventually did switch the title up eventually. But neither here nor there. This is, again, when I think of fun, I think of this movie. Now, I'll be honest with you all, I don't personally own this movie, not because of the quality. I just don't. It's like a one and done to me. I've seen it twice. I saw it in theaters, and I saw it on HBO Max like a couple of years ago. And it's a fun film. Again, Margot Robbie is just perfectly casted as Harley Quinn, and I really love the Birds of Prey. Journey Smollett, I thought she was great as Black Canary. I really enjoy Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's a fantastic actress. I really enjoyed her portrayal. I wish it was more of her, and I wish there was more Birds of Prey, right? Because they're only a group, only in the last like 10 minutes of the film. Everything else is them, running around trying to find the young girl in the film, and going against. I'm kind of split on Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. Great actor, of course, fantastic character in the comics, but I'm not all that entirely the biggest fan of that portrayal of the character and what they did with the character. And there's just moments, of the film that it's like, oh, this is fun energy. It's the most like colorful version of Gotham that I've ever seen. And honestly, Gotham should always be a character. Whenever Gotham City is involved in any project that whether Batman is included or not, Gotham should always have a vibe to it. And the vibe was obviously a lot different than we've ever seen. But like I said, I think more positively of the film than I do negatively, but it just doesn't have a long-lasting effect to me, and it's not as memorable as some of these other films. And again, I don't revisit it as much as I do the other ones. So with that said, Birds of Prey to me, it's between a B, but it's kind of a C if I'm being honest with you all. So we're gonna put it at a C for me again, and it's not like on the lower end of a C. It's just a film that you can have fun with, but I don't really revisit too often. And it was kind of one of those things that it's in the DCEU, but it's also kind of not in the DCEU, so it's kind of in that weird space as well. But neither here nor there. It's a C for me. So before moving on, let me get back to these comments before we get into our final bottom half of the DCEU ranking. So let me check what you all are saying. Let me go ahead and move this and see what we're doing here. Let's see. And by the way, guys, again, shout out to y'all joining in. Just a reminder to, if you haven't already, if you're enjoying, having a good time, like, share, and hit that thumbs up, man. I appreciate it. All right, let me see. Let me catch up in the comments. Where did I leave off at? Best thing, Amanda Waller. Potential. Oh, we got super chat. Shout out, submit. Great point about the difference of the quality and the score. Between man, I really do think that their themes are just like so integral and like integrated within the stories and so integral to the characters. So I love the scores for all the DC main characters. So yeah, man, appreciate you with the super chat and thank you for being here today. I appreciate you, man. Just saying, Justice League is where the DC fell apart. So much drama, man. So much drama. So much drama. It was crazy, man. It was some dark times in the DC universe, man. Those are one of them. Usually, because you can't pinpoint where the franchise goes wrong, but here's where the dumpster fire started. Yeah, as far as Justice League between the Fire and the Snyder, how much they cut from the cyber. Oh my goodness, yeah. And we'll talk about that later when we get to the real version of the Justice League. The movie was, man, crazy. Never saw this film. I'm so glad Snyder. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think I would have wanted to see that. Yeah, I know, man. That was canceled, right? That sucks. Based on that one scene, I would have loved to spend, an hour and a half or so in that world. Yeah, especially my man Yaya. He was great. Yeah, my man. Ah, man, it's such a gorgeous looking film, and it's just fun. It's just fun, man. It's A-level, campy. Yep, exactly. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's a man that talks to fish, right? So it's just inherently there's campiness within the character. So I love that James Wan embraced that. Indiana Jones, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Great call. It's fun. Thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page with that. Hold on. Let me see. William said, Aquaman. Cool. Exactly, man. My man. Aquaman is such a great movie. Best fight sequences. PBS Warehouse. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Correct. I agree with you, man. Right? I'm like, man, this woman is crazy. Shazam was way better. Pleasant surprise. Yeah. Yep. I only know him from Tangled. Oh, Zachary Levi. Yeah, he did voice. I always forget that. Man. That he plays the character in that film. Yeah, man, it's a great emotional. Like I said, it's the most heartfelt film in the DCEU to me. Everyone can. True. But at least you can. I mean, listen, man. With the programs these actors have, with the trainers, man. This is the director's fault. He needed to pull Zachary back. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Nomo. I don't get the disconnect, and we'll talk about it later. It's still apparent in the new one, which is even more baffling because Billy Batts is 18 in the new Shazam, and it's just like he almost feels like he's even younger in this one. So it's just a weird disconnect between the actors. Like, I don't know why it's such a huge disparity between the two. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's crazy, man. Yeah, like I said, I only watched it like 2 times. It's not bad. It's just like, oh, this is fun. But, it's like, oh, I rolled that roller coaster. I don't need to ride it again. Yeah, should have been. Yeah, that name is ridiculous. Whoever thought of that should have been fired. The Huntress. I can think of her name. Thank you. Yeah, Huntress. Mary Elizabeth played her. She's such a great actress, and I really enjoyed her. C tier, yeah. Wasted potential, yeah. 100%. Is there an F tier? They keep trying to rehabilitate Harley's image, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let her be a villain. Yes, man. 100%. Decided to be a group. That's what I'm saying. It's like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it one of these days just to kind of revisit it. But yeah, I just remember being like, oh yeah, fun, cool. But then when you walk out, it's like completely forget about it when you go about your life. That movie was more for the birds. What? Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you liked Suicide Squad more or something like that. But I got you. What's your favorite film from the DC animated verse? Ooh, that's a fantastic question. Oh my gosh. Man, could y'all imagine for any DC fans if we would have had the slate that we got from the animated world? We'll be on the top of the world right now. I really love the rendition of Frank Miller's Dark Knight animated film. Was that part 1 and 2 that they did? Really enjoy that. There's a lot of great Green Lantern animated films I enjoy. But my favorite, man, that's a tough question, bro. I'm just gonna be that basic dude and say Flashpoint Paradox. I love that film, so I'll go with Flashpoint. But there's so many great animated films within the DC filmography. Yeah, fire them immediately. That title was ridiculous. All right, y'all. So let's get back into it. All right, where do we leave off at? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us into our next film, which came out 3 years ago, and that is the sequel to, as you all know how much I love the original Wonder Woman 1984, y'all. Again, we got pretty much the entire crew and cast from the first one coming back. Even Steve Trevor found a way to come back. And when I first saw this film, which, by the way, if y'all remember, it wasn't in theaters. There was a whole issue with that of Patty allowing her film to be put on HBO Max and all that stuff. And I remember watching it. And remember, again, we were in the middle of the pandemic. There wasn't a lot of movies coming out. I was just happy to see a movie, right? It was that year. It was like Mortal Kombat. It was Kong. Was it Godzilla versus Kong that came out in 2020? And then it was this, and this was on the back end of the year. Tenet was out that year. So it was just like, oh man, we got like 4 or 5 films we can enjoy. And I was just so like gun-ho on just being back in like the film of it all, that when I first saw Wonder Woman 84, I was like, it's not bad. It's nowhere near as good as the first one, but it's not bad. But then when you take off those rose glasses and then you watch the film as a film, it's like, whoa, what is Patty? What's going on here? What is going on, Patty? Where's that great story and the character arcs that we got in the first one? Why the hell is Steve Trevor back? Who and what is this Cheetah character that I know is a badass in the comics? What have you done to Minerva? What is this? Oh, that Cheetah CGI was so abysmal. Oh my goodness. But narratively speaking, what are we doing with Wonder Woman 84? She's in modern times. She's lost Steve. She now is coming against, which I will say, one of the bright lights of that film is Maxwell Lord, played by the Pedro Pascal. What is good could be better. He was really hamming it up. His story kind of fell apart. He like kind of became non-existent after the second half of the film, but he was a bright spot in that first half because it was a little bit like, what are we doing here, Patty? Get Steve in the mix, and even though it was a questionable decision, and obviously morally speaking, like, wait a minute, did Wonder Woman just have a sexual encounter with a complete stranger without his consent? But there's that as element of it all. But the Steve Trevor chemistry was still there. It's still a strong point in the film, and obviously they're doing the role reversal of him being new to the 80s, and she's trying to implement him into the society and whatnot. So it's kind of almost rehashing a lot of the familiar beats from the first one, but it just doesn't achieve that magic from the first one. And then again, it's just like, what are we trying to accomplish here? And again, the whole theme of like Maxwell lore and the MacGuffin, I can't remember the MacGuffin of it all, that grants you wishes. It's like, what is this Disney Channel movie that Patty Jenkins wrote? It's abysmal. And then again, Wonder Woman is like non-aggressive in this movie. She's like, and again, that is a thing that I love about Wonder Woman, is her heart and her passion. But like, where's the warrior Amazonian that I've come to love? Non-existent. Like, I don't even think Wonder Woman draws her sword in this film. She doesn't even have her she has that stupid ass metal golden eagle, which looks beautiful, but it was only meant for selling toys because she literally wears it in one scene. She throws it off. That, shout out to Linda Carter who made an appearance in that film. But it's just a weird movie, man. It's just a weird put together film. It's just all over the place, tonally all over the place. There's some great superhero heroic moments. Like, I love the first flight moment, kind of rehashing Man of Steel, that we see with Wonder Woman flying in the sky after she loses Trevor. And, little Easter eggs for Wonder Woman fans, the visible jet. Again, tilting the hat at Linda Carter, who makes an appearance in the film. There's moments, but it's just nowhere near. It's almost like it's almost like there was the same people from the first one on the second one, but it's just like they were like shells of themselves. And this is a shell of a movie. So I hate to do it to you. And I almost want to put it at a D, but I could never put Diana in a D tier. I'm sorry. It's just like, call me a stan or call me a diehard fan. I just can never put Wonder Woman in anything F or D tier because I just love the character so much. And still, there are moments, and Patty and Gal have moments in the film, so it's not completely trash. Like, I know some people think like, Elliot, what are you doing? Put that in D, put that in F if you can. But it's a C. It's a low C, like C minus, almost a D tier, knocking on the door. But it's Patty and Gal, and apparently we're never going to see him again. So it's not a good way to go out, but I have it at a very low C for me. Wonder Woman 1984. All right, y'all. So we were kind of rounding out here, and this is where, again, we kind of like in a weird spot in the DC universe in 2020, but then the big announcement comes, and it has been rumored for, at that point, 4 years. Zack Snyder's Justice League, Snyderverse, Ultimate Cut, his cut. Is it ever coming out? Was it ever shot? Was it ever made? No. All the pundits, all the film critics, all the, TMZ, whoever, everyone was like, this film does not exist, which technically it didn't. Like, it wasn't a complete film, but it was shot. It just wasn't edited and put together. It was assembly, right? It was just a rough edit. And oh my goodness, when they announced Zack Snyder's Justice League was coming to HBO Max, I was just so first off, just from a human level, I was just so happy for him to get his story out there, right? You know, if you would imagine, if you're an artist, you want to tell your story, and also, take into account the human side of just him losing his daughter, what it meant to him to come back, what it meant to him to kind of tell the last of his trilogy, and obviously we know there was more if you've seen this 4-hour epic film, but just the fact that he was able to come back and kind of get the job done. It's 4 hours, but boy, what an epic 4-hour film, y'all. My goodness. And you talk about night and day. Whew, that Justice League versus this film doesn't even stand a chance, man, on so many levels. But man, I'm so glad that Snyder was able to tell his story. And we're doing this live, and someone had mentioned in the live stream regarding the heart of this film was taken out of the movie in 2017 with Cyborg. Regardless of how you feel about Ray Fisher, he has a lot to be upset about and a lot of accountability, responsibilities. If you follow him on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. He has a lot to be upset he has every reason to be upset the way he was handled with those executives. But his story, man, and the heart and the charm and just everything he brought to Cyborg was beautiful. And then just tying it into just the brokenness of these characters, because that's what I love about DC characters in general. Not only because we're talking about gods and Greek mythology and Zeus and Darkseid and all the great stuff in the lore and mythology in the DC universe, but these are broken individuals, and the fact that they choose to be heroic, the fact that they choose to not become their villains, is something I really admire, and you see that a lot within this film. Diana being kicked off with Themyscira, Bruce obviously losing his family. Last man of Krypton with Superman and Aquaman being tossed between being the king and being above water. And, obviously Flash losing his mom and his dad being convicted for murdering her. So there's broken individuals, but the fact that they come together, they gather their pieces, and they gather together as a team to take out, the biggest threats coming to this earth with Darkseid and everything with that this is a really good film, man. And again, it is a little bit long in the tooth. Obviously, it's 4 hours, and there are some moments that could have been cut out for sure. A lot of slow-mo from Zack. That's Zack being Zack, because he loves cool, man. This looks cool, right? But no, I love Zack Snyder, man. I really love this film, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story about never giving up, y'all. Never give up, and that to me is why this film is on a S tier for me, y'all. Man, Justice League, Zack Snyder. Which I do believe this is the last time he'll ever direct a DC film, like ever. And if that is to be factual, he went out on a high note, y'all. What a high note, man. And apparently there's going to be he's going to be doing Men of Steel BVS in this Justice League. He's going to be playing in the theaters next month and select theaters. I would love to have seen this in theaters, and who knows, maybe one day. But Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let me put a correction on that. Beautiful film, y'all. All right, so now we're getting into the HBO Max of it all, and kind of the in between, out between. What are we doing? What's canon? What's not canon? And that brings us to Mr. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, with an amazing cast. Not only does he bring back Margot Robbie as the incredible Harley Quinn, Rick Flag and Jai Courtney, who's briefly in the film, but then he adds to the mix, Idris Elba, John Cena, and, Shark King, Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher 2. And it's just, man, this film, unfortunately, not that money means everything, but financially this film did terrible. But of course we know why, because it was in the middle of the pandemic. But it was just such a welcome return to the characters of the Suicide Squad, which I know, again, David Ayer didn't get his version of the story, but even with that aside, this was the best version of Suicide Squad that we have seen on any medium, right? There was a small dose of them, if you all ever watched the Arrowverse with Oliver Queen and there Amanda Waller had put together a Suicide Squad, which was for TV purposes. It was okay. And then of course, David Ayer's 2016, but this is the best version, live action version we've seen of the Suicide Squad characters. James Gunn, who we all know now is the man, him and Peter Safran are running things. And I think this not only these characters and this franchise in good hands, but not only does he prove that he's a great director, not only from Slither and all the other films, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, but this film to me just gives you even more proof that he just knows characters. He knows the D-list, F-list type of characters and can bring them into the forefront. I'm talking Polka Dot Man. I'm talking Ratcatcher 2. Like, what? Starro is the villain? Which, shout out to Starro. Again, he's a deep, sweaty man, comic book nerd. That was like one of the first super villains that the Justice League ever went against in like the 40s or 50s. So he's a comic book head, and it shows in this film, but also he's a human with a heart. And these characters had heart, man. The story between the, Ratcatcher and Bloodsport and how they had their connection, the, continuing Harley Quinn just being a wild card of a character. And I think, to me, is the best version of Harley Quinn we've seen in the live action format is James Wan's, Margot Robbie's collaboration in that version of her. King Shark is a fantastic character. And, the biggest surprise of it all to me is the peacemaker of it all, because honestly, and obviously we're not talking about Peacemaker in this ranking, but to have that character come out of that film and to give you such an interesting portrayal of this character was just so great. Amanda Waller is great in this film. Like, everything that was done dirty in the first one was so redeemed in this kind of rendition, which again is kind of, they did say that it is kind of canon to 2016, just with a little, a brighter look to it, a better look to it. But nonetheless, man, the Suicide Squad to me is definitely one of the best films in this franchise. And it's up there for me at an A tier, man. The Suicide Squad by James Gunn is a beautiful film. And I'm very excited to see what he does, not only with these sets and groups of characters, but obviously what he's going to do with the new version of the DC universe. So before we're getting down to the final two, and I'm going to read you guys comments before we wrap that portion up, and then we'll get to some maybe some questions or whatnot. So let me go ahead and go ahead and move this here. All right, yeah. Oops, I didn't even do. Oh, there it is. I forgot to bring that back up. So let me pull that down and remember to bring it back up when we do our other half. So let me get to these comments here. I should have marked it. Where do we leave off? Birds of Prey, right? Animated film. There we go. Those are some good ones. Especially Red Hood. That's a really good one. What with the director's cut of the original Suicide Squad? Heard it was more mature and different. Yeah, Sam, the only thing I really heard, a little bit more mature nature to it, but also apparently the Joker had a lot more to do with it. It was more involved and had more detail to the character. But outside of that, I believe there was supposed to be more connections with the Mother Box. And I believe there was going to be a cameo from not Darkseid, but what was his henchman's name? I'm drawing a blank on the villain in that film. Jesus, what was his name? Big metal guy. But apparently he was going to be like somewhat involved in the film, and he was going to be talking to the hunter. It was supposed to be more tying into a bigger threat. Is what was supposed to be happening. And again, tie into the New Gods and the Mother Box of it all. What was that mofo's name? And it was supposed to be like Parademons was supposed to be involved. Steppenwolf, goodness gracious, Steppenwolf. But yeah, I think that was like supposed to be more heavily involved in it, is connecting the world. That would be crazy if they ever did that. Or like a live action version of that. What was that? Page X apparently got sent to the corner for time. Apparently, man, and that you talk about career altering. And I think there's a little bit more to it, but I mean, Wonder Woman 84 not only lost her the gig for Wonder Woman 3, with more obviously reasons for that was James Gunn getting into the mix and Peter Safran, but it also lost her because she was going to do Wonder Woman 3. That means she had put on the back burner that the Star Wars film, and obviously if y'all follow Star Wars film, that film's got shelved as well. So yeah, man, that Wonder Woman 84 really messed up her career as well. But she's a fantastic creator, so I'm sure she'll bounce back, hopefully, because I think she's a great artist. Yeah, it was pretty big fumble. Yeah, it could have changed people's perspective maybe if they saw it in theaters. Wait, Pedro, hey, what's good could be better, right? Now they completely sideline him in the second half and third half of the film. Like first period, campy 80s, but yeah, Grace. Yeah, and again, yeah, it embraced the 80s, but it was still just kind of narratively speaking, it was very much a downgrade from the first one. Writer strike. Yeah, good call. Was it a writer? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. One for proof free. Oh, Cheetah of it all was terrible. And Kristen Wiig, yeah, she's a fantastic actress, but man, they botched her for sure. Yeah, they did. Was one of the first movie that was Wonder Woman 84 the first movie the did during no, like I said, during the pandemic, there was Fast and Furious 9 had came out during the pandemic. Kong versus Godzilla came out. Mortal Kombat had came out. Judas and the Black Messiah came. I mean, there was films that came out, but they were all, exclusive to streaming. Tenet came out. That was like Tenet was the first one that actually came to theaters in September. So, but yeah, no, Wonder Woman was exclusively an HBO Max exclusive. But it was about like 10 big films, but like I said, they were exclusive to different streaming services. I think Cruella came out that year too on Disney. Yeah. Oh, it's your favorite. Nice. Yeah, my favorite Zack Snyder film is probably between Watchmen. It's probably my favorite. I love Dawn of the Dead, but Watchmen is my favorite Zack Snyder film. And then this is probably number 3 for me. Oh, no. Well, I can't tell you I can't say that because I'm going to rank these films here in a little bit, but there is a film that I do have above, another superhero film that I have above the Snyder Cut. Yeah, it was. It was a moment for sure. They did, right? That 4-hour cut was. I remember watching it. I was so excited because I was lucky enough to see it a little bit early. Warner Brothers gave me a screener link to watch it early, and it was like I was coming home from like hanging out with some friends, and it was like 11 o'clock when I got home. I was like, I can't like go to sleep and not watch this. So I stayed up to like 4 or 5 o'clock finishing it. It's great. It was great. Absolutely loves it. Put it also, yeah. The best parts of the film, your other issues. Yeah, you're right, man. That flash scene going into the time, Speed Force. Ah, yeah, he did. He did. That something was amazing. I couldn't believe one of those. Crazy, bro. Crazy. Shout out to my man Adam with a super chat here. A bit off topic, but I feel that the Flash in the DC universe is being nerfed in terms of stories while being teased as the most powerful character in the DC via Flashpoint because time travel. Why is that? A bit off topic, but I feel like the Flash in the DC universe, so you're referring to Ezra Miller's Flash, is being nerfed in terms of stories, which most powerful character. Well, I mean, to be fair, we've only seen the character twice, technically, with the whole flash drive sequence in BVS. And then obviously, 3 times with Josh Whedon's version of the Flash and then Zack Snyder. So, but I am really confident that they're not going to nerf him. And Andy Muschietti's the Flash. I'm pretty sure we're going to see the most powerful version of Barry Allen in that rendition. But to your point, and this goes back to just kind of the Zack Snyder of Man of Steel of it all. I think they just no one really got their opportunity to really show the Flash because he was a part of the ensemble. But obviously, when he got a solo outing, I think they were going to really, show with the Flash because yes, he is one of my favorite characters. He's one of the most powerful characters in the DC universe. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. At least, hopefully, I'm pretty confident that we will see that in the Flash, and hopefully, moving forward in DC universe with James Gunn rendition of the Justice League, that we'll see how powerful Barry Allen can be. So I think we'll get more of it. But again, I think the whole why of it all was because he never really got his solo outing to show his abilities. So as Barry Allen, the Flash. But great question, Adam, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the super chat, my friend. Thank you so much. Love the Suicide Squad. Same here. It's a fantastic film. At a certain point, it's because cool to hate the DCEU and the agenda is too hard to shake. And even the movie is good. The Suicide Squad was a B tier. Yeah, there's a lot of narratives of like, yeah, if you like something, you're lame or a shield for liking it. Yeah, some for it. I stay out of those conversations. If I love what I love, I like what I like. I don't like what I like. So I'm not gonna have the internet tell me in my eyes was good or bad, but James knew. Yeah, he's a sweaty man. He knows these characters in and out. Shout out to my man B Avery with the super chat. Justice League Snyder cut is amazing. What do you think he's teasing Darkseid for recently? The new Suicide Squad is amazing too. Yeah, B. So first off, thank you so much, B, for the super chat, my friend. What do you think he's teasing Darkseid for recently? So if you don't know, B, he actually revealed it yesterday. He that cryptic message he did on Thursday or Friday with Darkseid voice, the actor Raid Porter, I think his name. He announced that on the last week of April, he's going to be playing exclusively in theaters for 3 days. Man of Steel, BVS, and for the first time in theaters for a larger audience to see. He's going to be doing his Snyder cut in the theater. So that was the big announcement. It wasn't anything connected to the Snyderverse being brought back or the Netflix of it all, because I know a lot of people are campaigning for him to continue his Snyderverse on Netflix. So that wasn't the announcement. It was that they're going to be playing those films back to back in theaters in the last weekend of April. So, but yeah, man, shout out to B with the super chat, and yes, Justice League is incredible. And again, just to the last point of Zack Snyder, I am okay with him never doing another DC project. It hurts me because he's a great director and a great filmmaker, but I just think it's just too much baggage with his experience, even though it's a whole new regime. And, apparently him and James Gunn are really good friends, because if you guys didn't know, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead was written by James Gunn. So they go way back, like a Cadillac on full flats. So they're really good friends. So, I mean, there are better people in power and position, but I just think Zack Snyder, just do your own thing, bro. Do your, Rebel Moon universe. He's building Star Wars universe. He's doing, the zombie world he's doing. I would prefer him to just stick to that, because it's just too much baggage, man, with the DC universe. But yeah, let's just go out for Idris. Sorry, the Peacemaker. Yeah, fantastic show, fantastic movie, and I have thoughts on James Gunn. Taking over DC, the big show. Oh well, hey, we'll talk about that later. I'll star that so we can get to that comment and that your issues with Mr. Gunn. Too bad Joker ain't included. Yeah, are you referring to Suicide Squad or just in general that we haven't seen, like Ben Affleck going against Joker? Oh, I think did I read that already, Sam? I think I read that already. It was more mature, and the Joker was going to be more involved, and it was going to be more world building with the new gods. In the Suicide Squad by Air, the big bad was right. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, it was supposed to be. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, Stephen Wolf. Do you think the studio would ever release the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad? I mean, 50-50. Like, I would be perfectly fine if I never saw that ever. But at the same time, I love DC. I love these characters, so of course I would watch it. But I don't know if what that would do for the whole refreshing of it all with James Gunn and Peter Safran, what they're trying to accomplish, which is, we appreciate what came before us, but we want to move forward. So I don't know, having that. And of course, if you do bring it back, it would be a HBO exclusive or maybe one weekend event. You can see it in theaters, but I'm okay with not seeing it, but I wouldn't not watch it if it was available. But honestly, I don't think we'll ever see it, for being honest, but never say never. They never said Justice League, Zack Snyder was coming out, and there it is. This looks like we disagree about DC. Oh, what are I? Oh, you have it at a B tier? Okay. Not too far off. Not too far off, though. I had an A, you had a B. It would have been dope if Suicide Squad was responsible for figuring out the mother boxes were on Earth. Yeah, I mean, there was some, some connective tissue, some connective ties that they were trying to plant the seeds for all that. Is the worst choice. I know, Jess. I know you're not a fan. Man. We'll have to talk about that later. I know. I said Ty's a fan. It's proof that putting Gunn can only write certain characters and mostly obscure characters. I mean, we really haven't seen him directing A-tier characters. Obviously the Guardians are now very well known, but they weren't known then. My whole logic to your point, Justin, is if he's able to bring out the best of the D-list, C-list obscure characters, imagine what he will be able to do with the A-tier Superman, which he's going to be directing, as we know now. He's obviously writing. So I feel as though that mindset of coming from the bottom and writing from these more obscure characters and making them, everyone loves Rocket, everyone loves Groot, everyone loves Polka Dot Man. imagine what he can do with already an established character and really picking out the humanity of those characters, which James Gunn is fan. You might disagree with me, Justin, but I think he's so great at picking out the humanity of these characters. He's a human director and writer. He talks to those sensibilities of humanity within the characters, right? And the tragedies, and pulls it out and brings, broken people together. And Superman is a perfect example of that. I mean, he's the last man of Krypton who's lost his humanity. He's lost his family. He doesn't have his heritage. And coming down as an alien, there's so much to play with within that narrative that I think he's going to knock it out of the park, if I'm being honest with you, man. So agree to disagree, my friend. But I know you're not a big fan of him being on board, but I think he might prove you wrong. We'll see, Justin. We'll see, man. A couple years. They remake the Suicide Squad. I haven't watched the new one because the first one was kind of bad. Yeah, no. So, man, I'm telling you, it's narratively in the same world, but it's new and fresh. So I would highly recommend Mayan if you have HBO Max, which I'm pretty sure you do because you joined some of the watch parties we did with The Last of Us, if I'm not mistaken. So it's on HBO Max. I'm telling you, man, give it a watch. You're not gonna, at least I don't think you'll be disappointed. Who knows? But I know, we talked in the comments. We got a similar taste in films. I think you would love it. Yeah, he is. Yeah, so he needs to just do his own thing, I think. Adam with another super chat, man. Thank you so much. About the Flash question, I was talking about the character in DC. Oh, in general. Not Ezra. Oh, got you. Well, hey, Adam, listen, the comics, Flash is OP. Like, if you're referring to in general, like if you're the use of the character Barry Allen and Flash in the comics, he's OP as hell. Like he does some stuff that is just like, what? It's like, if the Flash ever went evil, he's the best supervillain of the DC universe. So if you're talking about the comics, man, there are so many great versions of Barry Allen in the comics. It's just amazing, animated too. So I don't know if you're saying in general, if you're referring to CW, and then of course, I know you're saying not the Ezra of it all. So like, what specifically are you talking about the Flash? Because comics, he's OP. Animated, he's OP. So let me know particularly which version of the character you're referring to, because there's a lot of great interpretations and adaptations of the character in other formats. Yeah, that's gonna be dope. All right, so let's get back to it. Let me actually remember to pull this up this time. So I think we're on the final two films, and again, I'll piece this out for a separate video. What did I leave off? Suicide Squad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to most recently, like literally like 6 months ago, and that is The Rock's The Black Adam, the Man in Black, ladies and gentlemen. Look, man, we talked about it with Aquaman and the Birds of Prey and Shazam. This is another film that I personally had fun with. Now, I didn't have as much fun with this film as I did the other ones, but I did enjoy elements of this film. One that comes to mind, and yes, we'll get to the Rock of it all, which I do think the Rock was almost a gift and a curse within this franchise, more so a curse because it really kind of crumbled beneath him for a lot of reasons, Superman being one of them. But I like what the Rock was able to bring to the role, because I know a lot of people, and listen, I might sound like a big Rock fan because I am definitely a big Rock fan. I used to watch him when I was a kid in wrestling, and I saw his career take off with Scorpion King and the Mummy and the Tooth Fairy and Walking Tall to all, seeing to where he's at now, which is one of the biggest superstars, movie stars in our industry, in the industry. I think a lot of people are like, man, The Rock is just going to be The Rock. And I honestly thought that The Rock really showed his acting chops, right? Because again, going back to his wrestling days, whether you a big wrestling fan or not, a lot of the whole thing is it's all fake. It's like there's elements of it that's choreographed and planned out for they won't die, and break their necks doing these moves. But it's a lot of theatrics to wrestling, and you have to at some point kind of tap into that acting sensibilities of you. So he's been an actor for well over, he was an actor 20 years before he got into Hollywood, in the sense of what he brought to wrestling, but D-Generation X era and Attitude Era, and seeing him going through all the different stuff. So I knew The Rock had it in him, but seeing him as Black Adam to me was not his best role, but to me it proved that he could show you a different side of him, just not being the hero of the story and just being stereotypical Rock that we see in Jumanji or whatever the case may be. So I enjoyed Black Adam, and the power scale was pretty accurate to what he is in the comics and versions I've seen of him in animated. So the power scaling was pretty appropriate. It could have been switched up and every now and then. Should have been Shazam in the mix, but that's a whole nother conversation. But that part I was satisfied with. the part that really stole the film for me is the Justice Society of it all. Like, big fan of those characters, and really enjoyed what what we got with Hawkman. I thought that he was just he was a badass. He was a superhero, man. He was like the poster boy of what a superhero could be and should be. And I love his back and forth with Black Adam in the film. Aldis was great in that role. Pierce Brosnan, who should have been in a comic book movie years ago, right? He's for a lot of people, he's there, a lot of people's favorite Bonds, and he's obviously just a great actor in general. But him as Dr. Fate, who you talk about OP in the comics, animated video games, that character would body Doctor Strange 10 out of 10, 7 days out of the week, anytime, any day of the week. Doctor Strange would, not on the same level as Dr. Fate, but I really enjoyed what Pierce Brosnan brought to the role. Adam and Atom Smasher and Cyclone were wet behind the ears, both the actors in the role. I've seen them in a couple, obviously, the one kid, Nick Santino from the Netflix world, and a young lady, she was in some other smaller stuff. So they were kind of like, acting wise, you could tell they're kind of fresh, kind of new, and still learning some ways to kind of really bring out their best aspects as an actor. Then also the characters weren't really written that well. They were kind of forgotten about throughout the narrative. So they were kind of more the weaker parts. The villain of it all was pretty garbage, if I'm being honest. And the whole motivations of it all was kind of confusing, if I'm being honest with you. But again, the story's not the strongest, but I did just have a good time just seeing superheroes fighting each other, right? And I know we now live in a time when that's just the standard is not enough for a lot of people, because it's, and understandably so, inflation, tickets prices aren't cheap, right? So when you go to the theater, you want to be more than just entertained, and just you want to have more than fun. You want to push the envelope, right? And this film didn't do that, right? That's why ultimately Black Adam is kind of a C tier for me at the end of the day, because we're in the golden age of comic book movies, and you have studios are not just saying, oh, just not paying attention to the narrative and paying attention to these characters. Like, there are directors and writers and people that want to do justice to these characters, and to have just it was an okay film, I had fun, right? It's just it doesn't move the needle, and this film did not move the needle. But at the end of the day, I had fun with the film. Sure, there's a lot of potential left on the table, a lot of stuff they could have did. The whole Shazam of it all, the fact that, and this is where, again, I love The Rock. He seems to be, I would love to meet him one day. He seems to be a very, very awesome individual that you would love to have beers with or hang out with or just be around, right? But his ego definitely affected not only this film, but I think affects Shazam too, that we'll talk about here in a second, and definitely left a sour taste in my mouth the way the handling of the whole Superman of it all, the marketing of it all, the pitching of like, hold on, you're going to fight Superman before you even fight Shazam. A lot of ego moves that I'm not the biggest fan that The Rock did. I appreciate what he was trying to do, at least from the sentiment of like, hey, you got Superman on the bench? Why? Right? Like, that narrative was like, yeah, like, why? But the way he like used the Henry Cavill of it all to market the film kind of fourth quarter, because the leading up to Black Adam and ultimately where it ended up making, how much it ended up making, it's a disappointment. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Black Adam. Fun, but doesn't really do much for the genre of the superhero movies, which again, not every superhero movie has to be the best one, but you have to at least, again, put enough effort in there that it's just not paint by numbers, very formulaic at this point into the genre. Which brings us to the most recent DCEU film, which, as I'm recording this on a Sunday, it's out now in theaters, and that is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. As I mentioned in my review, and as I mentioned on most recent streams, that I did get the opportunity to see this all the way back in December. The only thing that was different with the cut that I saw versus the version that's out of the film now is they didn't have the post-credit scenes, which I won't talk about here because obviously it's still the weekend of. I know some people still haven't seen it, so we won't spoil anything about the film. But as I said in my review, and I'll say it here, again, it has some of the shades of what I loved about the first Shazam, the family elements, the kids, the heart, and all that stuff. It has bigger action, which sometimes bigger doesn't always mean better, but it is a bigger film in the sense of I love how they continue to build the magic of Shazam, which was something that was kind of absent in the first one. You know, they touch on his magical powers, but they really don't dive too deep into it. But they definitely dive more into, you know, the wizards of it all, the magic of it all, the Greek mythology of it all, which I really had a fun time with. I know some people have been kind of criticizing the villains, Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu. I enjoyed them. Again, they kind of had shades of Zod, of like them wanting, and again, not spoiling anything if those haven't seen it, but their purpose, their goal, what they were trying to do, you know, is something that, you know, you've seen before, but I enjoyed what they were bringing to the table. And selfishly, I think they're two great actors, and I think they gave me more in the role than what was given to them on the script. Rachel Ziegler, I know a lot of people are kind of criticizing her just kind of being flatline, but I really enjoyed her chemistry with Freddie in the film. My issue with this movie, though, and again, you can watch my full review of it all, and it's my same issue I had with the first one. The disconnect between Billy Batson and him becoming Shazam is just like night and day. It's almost like Freddie is Shazam, and, you know, Billy Batson is just not the version of Shazam that we see. And I don't understand why Zachary Levi plays it that way. And I don't understand why David F. Sandberg, who's a very comparable director, very well, you know, he's well in the know of comic books. I don't know why he doesn't address that disconnect between two actors. It's very baffling. And when you see the film, again, not giving too much away, the story is very thin, if I'm being honest with you. That's another criticism. Like, the story is very, been there, done that. But when you look at Billy Batson in this film, he's 18 years old, and to see Zachary Levi playing like almost a younger version of him, it's just so weird. Like, he seems like he's like the mind of a 13-year-old in this film. And also, I mentioned how much I love like the family elements. The family is kind of forgotten about in the second film, and particularly Billy Batson's like really non-existent in this movie, but also like the foster parents were great in the first one. They're really kind of put on the back burner. And the idea of the Shazam family, narratively, the film takes place 4 years after the first one, and they're supposed to be 4 years into them being heroes. You would thought they were rookies. Like, it made no sense that they really, there was no growth from 4 years ago in Shazam to this new one. So again, it has its moments. It's great world building. There's some really cool visual effects. Like I said, David F. Sandberg definitely had a bigger sandbox to play in visually, you know, and visual effects wise and all that stuff. But like I said, there's a lot of shortcomings, which brings the most recent Shazam for me personally. I have it kind of in that C tier, B tier. I'm going to go ahead and put it at a C tier. So that is the list of how I would put the films, you know, from S, A, B, C, D. So let me go ahead and just rank them and let y'all know how I would rank these films from how I would consider from the best to the worst. So I think I'm going to start with the low down dirty, which is the worst of the bunch. So at the bottom of my list, between the D list, between Suicide Squad and Justice League, I have Suicide Squad being the worst out of the D list, as you've seen, as we talked about. You know why. So that is where those films land to me. Get into my C tier. It's going to go like this for me. It's going to go Wonder Woman at the bottom. It's going to go Birds of Prey here. We're going to go, I think Shazam. I had more fun with Shazam, and it's a better made film than Black Adam for me. So that's where my C tier is at. Going up to the B tier, I'm going to go, this is how I'm feeling on the day of the week. Better well put together film of Shazam over Aquaman. I have more fun with Aquaman, but as far as like a film and like cohesiveness and like an actual story, I'm going Shazam. Then we get to the A tier, and I'm looking at it like this, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I might actually have to leave it the way it is, man. I know a lot of you all do not like Batman vs. Superman, but again, remember, I'm talking about the Zack Snyder version of it. It's going to be exactly the way you see it now, and that is BVS, Wonder Woman, and the Suicide Squad for my A tier. And then going up to that S tier, that superior tier, is exactly what it looks like, which is Justice League, my second favorite DCEU film, and Man of Steel is my favorite DCEU film. So again, we'll go ahead and make it larger for you all can see. That is the list. That is it. That's how I would rank them. That's how I would put them in my order. So big question is, how would you rank them? Go ahead and let me know in the comments how from your number 1 to your number 13. And if you want to give me reasons why, I would love to read them and respond to them. But thank you all for watching the video. If you stuck around to this point in the video, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just a reminder to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. The future's looking bright. This is part of a full live stream discussion. So if you guys want to see the full length version of this video, you can click that in the description of this video where we talk about the future of the DCEU coming to an end, the future of the DCU. So check out that full video in the description of this video. We'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, so that is the clipped out version of that. So let's get back to our live stream, y'all, and see what you guys had to say about my final 3 films of the list here. And then we'll wrap up this video talking about DCU of it all, what's coming next, and the future of this characters. All right, so let me get to the comments. Let's see here when I leave off at. And yeah, I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all are awesome. Y'all could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with your boy. Thank you, thank you. I can't wait to see this. Oh yeah, I think that's where I left off at. Okay. So you think the writing of the female characters are not the best? I'm not super into Guardians like that, so maybe the later movies it's better. And I mean, yeah, it's just, your personal opinion, which I always respect. I think he writes his female characters pretty strong. Like Gamora and Nebula are really strong, powerful characters that aren't just perfect. I love that they're broken, right? The sisters, the daughters of Thanos, and how his parenting, his father, the way he parented those two women affected them and made them the baddest warriors in the galaxy. So I really like their arcs. I like the way he writes his female women very much in the vein of me to like kind of how James Cameron writes, a Ripley in Aliens, or displays her in Aliens, or Sarah Connor in Terminator. So yeah, no, I personally disagree. Harley Quinn, I thought was a badass character with some complexity, So yeah, I don't know. I disagree with you on that one, but teach your own, teach their own. But I appreciate your comment there. I'm pretty excited for the Blue Beat. Oh, we'll talk about we'll talk about that here in a second. Brave and the Bold. And yeah, let me start that, Craig, because we're gonna get into the DCU of it all here as we wrap up. Man, like I said, I don't watch wrestling now, but back in the day, Stone Cold versus The Rock was some of the best stuff ever. Smasher was annoying. Smasher. Oh, Adam Smasher. Yeah. He was. I don't blame the actor. I blame the writing on that one. Yeah, that was pretty cool with his son and all that stuff. Yeah, the action was fire. Yeah, no, it's some good action for sure. Yeah, I would hope so, man, because he's such a fascinating, interesting character. So I would hope James Gunn has that in the repertoire for his second half of his chapters. Chapter 1 is a cyborg movie. They tried too hard to make Black Adam kid friendly. Yeah, no, I agree. It was fun. Yeah, no, I agree. Man, my man Adam coming through with the love today, man. I appreciate you, Adam. The Flash stories. Okay, this is going back to your question earlier. Thank you. And by the way, Adam, you don't have to do a super chat just to answer a question, man, but I appreciate the support, my friend. So this is going back to your comments on the Flash. The Flash stories don't feel as important. While being potentially the Dark Phoenix of the DC universe, it almost seems in purpose not overshadow the DC trilogy. Or you're talking about the Trinity, maybe because introduced later. Well, no, I mean, again, Adam, you're speaking a lot of facts because it is a character that, like I said, if the Flash were to ever go evil, which is the Reverse Flash, it's a whole problem, But I think, and again, it depends on which Flash you're talking about, because in the comics there are just so many great stories where you do see Barry go off the chains, and again, Barry Allen in the comics is very OP, like he's very hard to take out, to overcome. And the thing I love about Barry Allen is this how and that's again I love about these characters. They have these godlike powers, but they're so conflicted as humans, and they just have good hearts. And Barry Allen's just a good-hearted individual and has the powers of a god. at the palm of his hands or the palm of his feet. And I just love what they do with him. So no, I understand what you're, and again, if you're referring to just in general of the character, again, comics, my friend, and some of these animated movies, man, they show you what that boy is all about. He's more than just speed, man. He's brains, he's smart, he's very intellectual. He's just a kind-hearted individual. So I'm hopeful to your point of the future for the Flash is you get what you want from the character and you can see the full capabilities of a very fantastic, very interesting character that is, man, full force Barry Allen Flash, even Wally West, who in some iterations is like slightly faster than Flash, and all the stuff that comes to Flash, some great villains too. So I'm hopeful, Adam, that you will see the version of the Flash that I've read and seen in animation in live action, sooner rather than later. And I think we might see that come June. But thank you again, Adam, for all the super chats and the great questions, man. It's all about family. Down Toretto voice. To me, the DC took too long to make Shazam 2. These kids, yeah, and that's another thing. Justin, when I get into the spoilers, I had mentioned how Billy's 18. It's like, and again, like I let y'all know, the only Shazam that I knew was from the movies, the animated movies. So I don't know in the comics, like if they really, and I also know that they probably casted, what's his name? Angel Astor. They probably casted him too old. Like I think he was like 15, 14 in the first Shazam, but the actor was like around the same age. And like you just mentioned, it's kind of like the Stranger Things of it all, where they grow so quickly. So it almost makes you think they should have, and especially the way Zachary Levi plays Shazam, they should have casted a 9-8-year-old kid. And hopefully, if James Gunn doesn't bring back Zachary Levi and they recast, make Billy Batson a kid, like make him 8 or 9 years old, 10 years old, with the maturity, a little bit of maturity to him, but make him more of a kid if you're going to make Shazam more of the kid version of him. So definitely cast him a little bit younger. But yeah, like I said, with this film, it's like, dude, like if y'all were to have a Shazam 3, Billy's going to be like a 21-year-old, and it's just going to be even more weird that Zachary's paying him as youthful. So yeah, this is just kind of an unfortunate situation that it took so long to make the film, and the fact that Zachary Levi plays him so childish. Yeah, especially for the most recent one. Yeah, because again, the most recent one, Billy Batson is not even like he's in the movie, but it's more about Freddy. Freddy has more to do in this new one than Billy Batson does. I agree. They should have switched his squad. Oh, with my list, gotcha. DPP. Oh, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Oh, I hope y'all didn't think I was in. I think some of y'all might have checked out thinking I was ending the video. I was just ending because I was going to cut this out and make this a separate video. So maybe some of y'all pieced out, which my bad. Maybe I didn't explain that well enough. Gotcha. Nice. William, I enjoyed Mantis. Oh, I forgot. I don't like Mantis. So was it you, William, that brought up how he writes women? Because was it you, William? I'm just going up because I don't personally like Mantis as a character. I think to my boy Justin's fault as far as James Gunn. He oh no, that was someone else I mentioned about the women. But yeah, I don't like Mantis. I think she's just a joke. Yeah. Alrighty, so that is that. And and let me get back to your question. I'm sorry, William. I enjoyed Mantis Gardner too. I think she needs more development. Yes, so you agree with me there. She kept ego in check for her whole life, but by herself, she's one of the most powerful. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I don't think they've, just like Drax, I think James Gunn dropped the ball on Drax. So there you go, Justin. There's the James Gunn slander for me. I think he writes Drax is like the Hulk. He's like very just jokey, and really no substance anymore. But we'll see with Guardians 3. All right, y'all. So wrapping up, man. Let me get to the last points before we call this a day, and that is what I want to talk about last. The end of the DCEU. So for you all that know that it isn't over yet, we still have on mid-June, June 16th or June 19th, The Flash, Andy Muschietti, apparently the greatest superhero movie of all time. Very excited for that. We still have Blue Beetle, which I did highlight. Someone brought up Blue Beetle earlier, and I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, Craig, very excited for Blue Beetle. I was first introduced to the character in Batman, Batman, the Bold animated show. What's your thoughts? I'm very excited for it. I don't watch, um, what's the show he's in? Cobra Kai, but I heard that the actor who's going to be playing the character is great. So I'm really excited to see, because I'm really not that familiar with Blue Beetle. So it's going to be a brand new kind of fresh take for me with this character. So I'm very excited to learn more about him and meet him. And I know the cast seems pretty stacked. I'm hearing that it's a good family, another kind of film with a lot of family elements, a lot of heart to it. So I'm excited, man. Hopefully that we get more of that, because and I've heard some of the test screens are really great. So hopefully Blue Beetle will carry on to the DCU, because I know, unlike Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, not bringing back Henry Cavill, Wonder Woman potentially, is because those characters had sequels and all that stuff. So Blue Beetle being like his first time out, I think it would be a nice transition to get him into the fold. So I'm very excited for it. I believe it's in August. So hopefully we'll be getting a trailer probably when the Flash comes out, and getting excited about Blue Beetle. So yeah, man. But yeah, we got like I said, the Flash, Blue Beetle, and then Aquaman, and that will end the DCEU. And as of today, right now, there's really the only people that are coming back from the DCEU, and it's really not confirmed, but you would imagine Peacemaker, probably the Suicide Squad characters, including Harley Quinn. And we know Ben Affleck isn't coming back. We know Henry Cavill isn't coming back. Gal Gadot's still kind of in limbo. We don't know what's going to happen with Ezra Miller quite yet. Even though I'm hearing, and we've all heard at this point, great things about the Flash, but we'll see what goes on with that. But at the end of the day, once the Aquaman 2 ends, I will always remember the DCEU at its best, being great storytelling with what was going on with the Trinity and the world they were building with Zack Snyder's verse. Even though I know some of the characteristics weren't as accurate for some people out there, like obviously a different version of Superman, different version of Batman and Wonder Woman at points, but at its peak, some great storytelling, some incredible themes, some incredible productions. Again, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman all have memorable scores and memorable moments that I'll remember. And at its worst, studio interference, indecisiveness, being a studio that just like, oh, this works, so let's just do more of that and do it to the umpteenth degree and try to be Marvel, or that didn't work, so let's just completely abandon everything that the storytellers were trying to do. So very their approach to the highs and lows, which is very bad for a studio. And what I'll also remember is just the inconsistency of it all, of just not just having a through line and not believing in your creators. You hired these people. At one point, they sat down with you. They had a meeting with you. They pitched you their story. And from the pitch meeting from whatever happens to the studio, to the pre-production, to the post-production, it was a disconnect for a lot of different productions, which is unfortunate. So again, as you all saw from my list, some really great movies that I'll always remember, and there's some really low lows that I'll always remember. So like I said, we got 3 films left, but we'll see what comes of it all. And again, speaking of, what's to come next, the DCEU. And I know my man Justin might not disagree with me, but I really do believe the DC universe is in good hands with Peter Safran and James Gunn. And this first slate of films, Chapter 1, with kicking things off with a Superman film, Superman Legacy, is a genius idea. You got to have the foundation of Superman in this world, and starting off that way, to me, is going to be great. And pivoting over to, characters like the Authority and Creatures Commandos, and getting into the obscure nature, R-ratedness, and matureness of the Swamp Thing, getting a Batman, the Bat Family with the Brave and the Bold, getting finally Jon Stewart and the Green Lanterns in the mix. Hopefully Chapter 2 or the back half of Chapter 1, we get the Martian the Manhunter, we get Cyborg, we get more of those the darker elements of Zatanna and the Dark Justice League, and Constantine, and all those supernatural characters. So yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to the future. I'm hopeful that we can get to where I know DC should be. No disrespect to Marvel or the MCU. They're having their low point right now. But I'm telling y'all, when DC does get their stuff together, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time, y'all. I'm just telling you. And it only benefits Marvel, because it's going to help them step their game up. Because right now, Marvel fans are turning on them, man. It's crazy how people can turn on them in a dime. Like it's like the 10 years they've been building to Endgame is just like forgotten about. And I think some people, not to make it into a Marvel conversation, but I think some people are expecting Endgame level of like characters, right? But we're starting over from scratch. So I think there's a little bit of impatience. I also think not to dismiss the mediocre nature of Marvel. They've been slipping. They haven't been as concise. Kevin Feige stretched way too thin. Some of the experiments have worked, some of them haven't. But I think Marvel still there's still a lot more to Marvel because we haven't even touched the X-Men and Fantastic Four of it all. So, but either way, like I said, with DC striking and hitting home runs and slam dunks, that's going to only be friendly competition to just get the best content out there. So I'm hopeful, man. So I think we're going to wrap it up. We're going to another minute. If you guys have any final questions, I'm going to let you guys go about your day and enjoy your Sunday. But again, I appreciate y'all, man. Before we wrap it up, though, if you haven't already, thumbs up, share, comment in the comments. Those watching the replay, and I'll probably have this like edited out as a separate video with the rankings sometime this week. So, you meant Scarlet Witch when you were talking about Dark Phoenix, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I got you. Thank you for got you. Oh, listen. I'm gonna miss our discussions. I'm gonna miss it for The Last of Us. Ah, that trailer was some great trailers, man. You can say that. You can't say that about DC. They cut some great trailers. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining today's live stream. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. Actually, I'll be doing a live stream for Swarm tomorrow evening, so keep an eye out for that. This week's gonna be kind of low key because I told you at the beginning, I've been sick this whole week, so I'm finally getting back to 100%. But I've been going hard these last few weeks with U coverage, Swarm coverage, John Wick 4 reviews on the channel now, Shazam reviews on the channel now, Servant commentary. So I'm going to take a couple days off the next few days, gearing up for Succession, which unfortunately I won't be getting the opportunity to watch them early to get the reviews out like I did for season 3, but we'll figure out something with Succession, a watch party or a live after show. We'll figure something out because that's the next thing I'm really excited for, Succession. So this week, just keep an eye out for that stream for tomorrow. Keep an eye out for like short form content. I got some rankings I'm going to be sharing with you all with John Wick, some Marvel content that I shot the other day. So keep an eye out for that. And then as far as long form content, we'll probably be, like I said, gearing up for Succession next Sunday. So yeah, man. And then, I might be seeing Dungeons and Dragons. I was supposed to see it. They gave a screener like last week, but it was like 50 minutes away from me. So I was like, I'm good. But I might see Dungeons and Dragons next weekend. And then what else is there? I think that's the last big movie of the month besides John Wick 4, which I saw and I got a review on the channel now. And April. Oh, can't wait for Evil Dead Rise. So excited for that. Barry, the 4th and final season of Barry. So it's going to be a lot of good things to look forward to, y'all. So again, thank you for being here. And we're going to call it a day, man. Let me see. Some final comments. Is there any Marvel? Just saying, to me, Marvel is lacking the connectivity they made. Made it great. No Phil Collins between the movies. Phil Coulson between the movies. Gotcha. One was doing a good job a bit, but wasn't everything and didn't have the video movies. I got you. Man, Adam, bro. Thank you, man. The Flash. Disrespect. Love it, man. I love it. I'm telling you, Adam, we're going to see some good Flash stuff in the future, man. Hopefully. All right, y'all. Peace out, man. All right, Justin. Y'all be easy. Y'all are awesome, man. Catch you on the next video.